How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez. We're going to be here for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling. We'll talk some mixed martial arts as well. We've got movies probably as well. And we'll be joined in the second hour. We're going to be covering the TNA pay-per-view, which is going on as we speak. In the pre-show match, it was A1 and Eric Young over the Naturals. And we've got the Team 3D street fight with the James Gang in the ring right now, and we'll update it as this stuff goes on, a bunch of matches on the Slammiversary show. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
So, you had quite the week. Not only all these ridiculous shows, but moving as well.
Yeah. This is a long week, but I think things are sort of back to normal today, so
well,
life can continue.
Yeah, quite the week.
Yeah.
And it's still going next week with so much stuff going on. The first episode of ECW television was in the books, and what an episode it was. By the way, on the show, Homicide and Conan are laying the boots to the James Gang right now. I think that they crossed the demilitarized zone into the Spanish announcing zone, and they're both getting a pounding. Anyway, no, only BG's getting a pounding because Kip James is at ringside with no special hair either.
That's sad.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we should start with the ECW show on Tuesday, and your thoughts on it.
Well, I'm on the West Coast, so, about an hour into the show on the East Coast, I started getting emails and even phone calls. People called and said, don't watch this show, it's horrible.
Well, you can't not watch the show.
Sure. So, but, I hear all this horrible stuff, and so I tuned in, and for about the first 20 minutes, I was like, this isn't great, but this is far from the worst show I've ever seen. The Zombie was at least funny. The Kurt Angle match, I was totally fine with it. Just a Kurt Angle destruction, just headbutt, this sort of thing. It was great. And then
I had the problem with that is Joey Styles' lack of what's the word I'm looking for? Common sense wrestling announcing.
Yes.
Because if he had not gone on about Just Incredible being a former ECW world champion, Kurt Angle squashing Just Incredible, I had no problem with.
Yeah.
But it represented to those people by pointing out he's a former world champion, and then you have this WWE guy like squashing him like it's not even competition. It, in a sense, was people took it, they took it the wrong way.
Yeah, I think that Joey was in a tough position because you either acknowledge it and what you explained goes down, or you don't acknowledge it and you have people upset that you didn't acknowledge the past. The best thing
would have acknowledge the past during the Sandman's match. He was going over.
The best thing would have been just not to put Just Incredible in there.
Well, that's the other thing. You could have put any one of 15 different people in that
Stevie
same
Richards.
spot. But I mean, because they did, I don't think that he should have said it. Because I remember when they used to do the, I used to think like, and when this would have been like years later when Steve Austin became like the biggest star in wrestling, and Mikey Whipwreck was already down in the jobber ranks or preliminary ranks. I mean, he had his run in ECW, and then at the end, he really wasn't a major player. And every time he would go out there, especially on a pay-per-view, Joey Styles would always go, Mikey Whipwreck, he beat Steve Austin, which, in fact, he did, when Steve Austin was between jobs and all that. But to me, when you're going on, at that point in time, when you say that, you're saying to the people, we're so stupid that we put Mikey Whipwreck over Steve Austin.
Yes.
It's like, if, the timing and everything like that, it wasn't that stupid at the time. But it doesn't put Mikey Whipwreck over because you're not putting him over. If Mikey Whipwreck was the Sandman, he was the top guy in your promotion, or he was Taz, he was the top guy in the promotion, you go, hey, he beat Steve Austin, it's saying something, but when it's one of your bottom guys, and it's the biggest star in the business, you're basically saying that, boy, we can't judge talent.
Yeah.
So anyway, just dumped a bra out of the ring, by the way. I don't know if you saw that, Brian.
How did that get in there?
I don't know how it got in there. They were using it as a foreign object. Kip James is covered in blood. We've got tables in the ring, plunder everywhere for this street fight that's going on. Quite a busy week. Happy Father's Day to all you people who are fathers. And
including you. Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, thank you. I went to the beach.
That is quite the Father's Day gift for you, I would think.
Yeah, but now I'm back. I'm back here watching another pay-per-view. Jeez, we didn't even finish on the ECW. So we were into the Kurt Angle Just Incredible match, and I guess you should continue from Kelly the Stripper and that horrible Battle Royal.
I almost gagged. Kelly the Stripper, waste for a show that's an hour long. That was a total waste. She was the most boring hot woman I've ever seen.
Real quick, Team 3D won. They did a 3D through a table. Okay, go back.
Yeah, most boring hot woman I've ever seen, and it was a waste of 5 minutes that could have been better spent on something better on this show.
Was that spot where she couldn't get her bra undone, was that like her ineptness, or was that actually like planned?
I suspect that was her ineptness. I don't know any better.
So did I.
But it was... And then we had the Battle Royal, which
How did she ever get out of her clothes?
I totally hated. The idea of a Battle Royal where there's weapons outside the ring, so you can go under the bottom rope or through the middle rope and get weapons, and then come back into the ring so you can be thrown over the top. To me, it's just like, why don't you stay out there? Why would you go back into the ring? And on top of that, the match just sucked. Guys hitting each other with stuff, and just a parody of hardcore wrestling.
Well, here's the other one, too. They just had a Battle Royal 6 days earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be corrected on this, but I never recall ECW having Battle Royals.
No.
I mean, because it was not Paul Heyman's cup of tea, which is one of the reasons why I really could tell him completely out of power when I saw that Battle Royal 6 days after another Battle Royal.
Yeah, the whole show, I think the whole thing is everybody just has to realize this is a new company that just happens to have the 3 letters ECW, and the links to the past are Sandman, Paul Heyman is a character, and a couple of other guys, and that's really it. It's just a brand new WWE brand, and you either like it or you don't, and it will either succeed or fail based on whether people like it or not.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it was never going to succeed or fail based on what it once was anyway.
No, never.
Because what it once was is it's over. I mean, it's been over for 5 years, and you can't. I've lived through attempts to revive things. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. Whether it's a TV show, whether it's a sport, when something dies, I mean, you can resurrect something similar, but you can't resurrect it. And I think that a lot of people were expecting something that couldn't have worked. And I'll tell you what, Tuesday Night in Trenton was the real answer in the sense of there it was, the first ECW TV taping, and there weren't enough ECW fans to make a chant.
No.
And that's not defending the fact that, they had a terrible open. And that, they just did. They had a bad TV show. Let's see, what other stuff? Okay, did you see Nacho Libre yet?
I did.
Okay, tell me. I have not seen it. I'll probably go see it in the next week. What's your thoughts?
Well, it actually reminded me, ironically, of ECW in that you have to sort of throw out all of your knowledge of wrestling. There were some links to real wrestling. There were some masked luchadors and that sort of thing. There were a couple of guys that did lucha high spots. They actually took the ring announcer from Arena Mexico and gave him the ring announcer role in this film. Mm-hmm. But, there was also stuff like a match there was no reason for the matches ending. Pinfalls could occur outside the ring and that sort of thing. And, it was, if you throw that part out and you just want to see a movie that has some comedy, it was fine. I didn't hate it or anything like that. It was funny at times. There was a lot of juvenile comedy, but you're going to get that in that sort of movie. And, I don't know, it just really depends on if you like that kind of comedy.
Okay. I'll go see it, and we'll go.
I don't think you will hate it.
I'm not
this was not Ready to Rumble in any way.
Oh, good. I didn't want to see Ready to Rumble again. Ultimate Fighter, 2-hour special on Thursday. And we've got, this coming Saturday night, we've got Ultimate Fighter on Spike with Michael Bisping against Josh Haynes, wow, and Kendall Grove against Ed Herman. Now that this season is pretty much over except for the finals, what's your thoughts?
Well, it's been a decent season. The fighters, obviously, we talked about this before, they're not at the level of the fighters in the first couple of seasons. But there have been some good shows based on personalities, and I think we're going to get at least one star out of it, that being Bisping. I don't necessarily know about everybody else, but, it was good. I've seen far worse shows than this season of Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, I know. I saw Hogan Knows Best, and I saw that Brady show this morning.
You saw it? You saw it this morning?
Yeah, I saw it. It was a repeat.
It was a repeat of which show was it?
It was it was one from last season of Hogan Knows Best.
Okay, yeah.
It was the Hall of Fame show, which was completely ludicrous. oh my God, it's Vince McMahon. I mean, we've been writing about Hogan in the Hall of Fame for 6 months, and then he gets this phone call and he's shocked and, you know, telling his wife, oh my God, what a great like to Hulk Hogan, it's any kind of an honor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean that, but no. But I saw China was on the Brady show.
Really?
Yes. In fact, I wouldn't say to watch the show for it because it's a waste of your time. But if you did watch the show to see her, you will hate her.
I have no plans of watching this show whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, with all the wrestling there is, you know.
Yeah.
When I saw Hogan Knows Best was a repeat, I was actually happy and I loved that show. But yeah.
They did a thing. It was the guy who used to play Peter Brady, Christopher Knight's getting married to Adrienne Curry from America's Next Top Model, and they were on the Surreal Life together. And so they're on the verge of getting married, and she goes out to lunch with her good friend China Doll, and they're sitting there at the table, and all Joni Lauer is doing is telling her all of these reasons on why this guy is a loser, why you should never marry him, like just poisoning her mind. I wanted to kill this woman.
Wow.
Oh, it's just like, you just have to see it. It's like, here's this, you know, Adrienne Curry who's sort of nervous, and you want your friend to kind of like, you know, give you kind of, because everyone is kind of scared before they get married, and she is just, did you sign a prenup? Yes. And then it's just like, well, he's not into you, he's into himself, and I mean, it's just like this man hater, just like, making like this nervous girl, you know, like so much worse, and it's like, God, I was hating that woman.
I'm amazed that you went to the beach for a whole day for Father's Day and came back and actually watched China.
No. It was on the TV at the beach at 8 in the morning when I woke up.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm usually not up that early, but you know, I had to get up to see this. I just got up early.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, there's not a lot of choices at I think it was 8 in the morning.
Did you ever see Napoleon Dynamite? You probably didn't.
No, I didn't.
Okay. The Jared Hess was involved in both movies, and Napoleon Dynamite's gotten a lot of. It's a very polarizing movie. You either love it or you hate it. So I think it's probably going to be the same way with Nacho Libre. I should throw that in there as well. There are people that saw this movie that did not like it, but
it got more bad reviews than good.
Sure, but everybody that I went with enjoyed it. And I think a lot of it depends on what you think of Jack Black. If you think the man is not funny, you're probably not going to like this movie. And if you can be entertained by him, then you probably will.
I always like Jack Black.
Sure. And the people in the audience last night really seemed to enjoy it.
Well, I think if they don't like Jack Black, they're probably going to a different movie.
That's yeah.
So, Pride, we're 2 weeks away from Pride. So this is actually our last show because next week's WWE pay-per-view. Before the Pride show, actually, we'll be on the air before the thing airs on pay-per-view, although it will actually have taken place the night before. So, let's go through real quick picks. Crow Cop Yoshida.
I will go with Crow Cop.
Yeah, I will too. I actually am pretty strong on that one. I just can't visualize, I can't visualize a way that Yoshida wins. I mean, I know he could take him down and submit him. I just don't believe that's going to happen.
Crow Cop Sprawl is so great, though.
I know.
He may never get him down.
And even if he does, I just don't see him submitting him. Although, because I mean, Fedor never came close.
Yeah.
And, I think Fedor's submissions in martial arts are better than Yoshida's, or certainly as good. Nogueira and Fabricio Verdum.
I will go with Nogueira.
I guess I will, too. That match has the potential to either be really good or really boring.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one.
Nogueira doesn't often have boring fights, though.
Yeah, but this is like someone who might be able to. By the way, Rhino against Bobby Roode and Scott D'Amore is about to start. But I could see that, I just see Verdum the way that I could see them neutralizing. Whereas Crow Cop and Yoshida, no matter what happens, partially just because it's Crow Cop and Yoshida, I don't see that it's being a bad match.
Yeah.
Then Fujita and Silva, which I think will be a great match.
I got to go with Silva.
Yeah, maybe by decision.
But
I don't think
Fujita,
I don't think he's going to knock him out.
He's probably not going to knock him out, and Fujita, he can go on the ground, and Silva, he's been neutralized on the ground before, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I can't see Silva losing to Fujita though, and that's not really taking anything away from Fujita. It's more the guys Silva's faced, even guys so much bigger than him, Mark Hunt, that sort of thing. It's just. I can't picture him losing.
Josh Barnett and Mark Hunt.
Josh Barnett.
Yeah, me too. If Josh Barnett is smart, he should win. A lot, because I think he can get him to the ground, and I think once he gets him to the ground, I think he just knows too much. Standing up though, he better get it to the ground.
Oh yeah.
He took some punishment against Alexander Emelianenko, and Hunt might hurt him worse.
Yeah.
They just did a spot. Okay, in the ring, Rhino, Rhino's this big guy, and boy, he can really move. And so he was working in the ring, and he did some high spot, and he was moving. So then the next about a minute or so later, they did this thing where Scott D'Amore somehow tagged in and ran away. And so Rhino's thing is he has to chase Scott D'Amore around the ring and not catch him. And you have no idea how slow Rhino had to run to not catch Scott D'Amore, who doesn't run very fast.
Well, it's sort of like something that should be taught in wrestling school, the slow, fast run.
Yeah, well, he just did a slow run. Now, Scott D'Amore just did the Buddy Rose push-ups.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. I was watching a tape. I was dubbing a tape for somebody. This is of a match about 24 years ago of Buddy Rose against the Dynamite Kid from Portland, Oregon. Okay? And Buddy Rose was thin.
What do you mean by thin? An actual slim, trim 218?
Yeah, I would say he was about 215.
Wow.
I mean, it was like it stunned me. And I mean, it did. When I watched it, it did remind me that there was that period where he went on the diet in Portland and he got really thin. And I mean, Dynamite Kid looked like they look like they're the same size.
Yeah.
I mean, it was it's quite the match too. By
meaning the same weight.
Yeah, Buddy was a few inches taller, but they. I mean,
what do you mean by size? Certainly not the same physique.
No, not the same physique, but the same, basic size.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, if you're looking for the latest pro wrestling info, you can always go to www.wrestlingobserver.com. We got interviews, news, results of the major shows, and info on how to get the Wrestling Observer newsletter that I put out every week and Figure 4 that Brian puts out every week. And actually this week there's 2 issues of the Observer because there's just so frickin' much news. Plus, huge story on John Tenta, who we have not mentioned, but he passed away last week at the age of 42, which was really, there's a lot of tragedies, but that was a real tragedy.
That's a tragedy up there with Owen Hart, with one of those guys that I talked to somebody that knew him from way back when, and he said he's one of those people that when people die, a lot of people say, well, he was a real nice guy. John Tenta was one of those guys who really was a real nice guy,
yeah. And
he died young of no fault of his own.
And I mean, the saddest part of it is like sometimes when people die, you just go, well, at least he went, quickly and painlessly.
Yeah.
And he didn't even do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it really made me sad, and sad for his kids especially.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just too young. That's all I could say. So anyway, but we have the big story on that. WWE financials, the big story there. A lot of stuff going on. After the WWE financial report, and then I'm reading the analysts at Wall Street, and with their kind of synopsis of it, and boy, was I scared reading that stuff.
In what way?
Well, it's like they have numbers, but they don't look at what the numbers mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I just give you an example is on the pay-per-views. Okay, WWE grossed in this last quarter very slightly more money than they did in the same quarter last year. The only difference is the same quarter last year because of how the pay-per-views were. As Brian, as you know, the Backlash was considered in the second quarter, or it was May 1st instead of April 30th, so it fit into the different thing. So basically, you're including Backlash, and by including Backlash, you actually had slightly more revenue because of the extra show. And everyone's going to see pay-per-views up, and it's like, no, it's it's double down. Not only is it down, but international is so far up that U.S. is U.S. and Canada pay-per-view is it's scary down, quite frankly.
See, I think that's one of the real giant stories of the last year or so that hasn't really been talked about a whole lot, and that is the domestic numbers are down while Raw ratings are still very, very good, and SmackDown ratings, aside from the preemption and everything, they're not horrible.
Yeah, they are, actually.
Well, without the preemption?
Even with the preemptions, even the weeks with no preemptions, you're only getting 2-4.
Okay, so it's still bad, but it's not disastrous.
Well,
but the point is,
when when Thunder was doing those numbers, it wasn't considered good.
No.
And Nitro was doing those numbers. I mean, those numbers, you know, I think the SmackDown numbers are bad, and there's, you know, it's not quite their fault. And I mean, it's on at a terrible time, but I like that show.
Well, let's throw that out and look at the Raw numbers. The Raw
numbers are good.
They're very good. But
Absolutely.
The point is that with all those millions and millions of people watching the show, over the last year, they're doing a far worse job convincing those people to actually buy the pay-per-views. And it's not like a whole bunch of new pay-per-views are being added. It's still generally the same number of pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And that's a problem with the writing.
Yeah. I think it's a problem with you know, the writing and how everything is structured.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they have not produced. I mean, WrestleMania was a big show, and Hogan and Michaels, when they did that SummerSlam match, I mean, that was, you know, Shawn Michaels did a great job on the promos. I can't say Hogan did, but Shawn Michaels did. But they have not promoted what I would call a match nearly as good as UFC does on almost every pay-per-view.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard as somebody that writes about wrestling and is so involved in wrestling, such as myself, but there's still days where a pay-per-view is coming up and I'll be excited, and it's never WWE. It's always like a big UFC match or something like that. And, you know, there used to be days where it would be like this with WWE, where it'd be like, oh, Sunday is this and this a match. This is going to be fun. But I never get that anymore. And I don't think it's just because I'm jaded. I think it's bad. It's just bad promotion of matches. There's really nothing that grabs you. I mean, the closest thing to it, I guess, is really Samoa Joe and Steiner. And I really know what that's going to be, so there's only, you know.
Well, the problem with Samoa Joe and Steiner is that I thought that the stuff they did on Thursday, you know, with the interviews, which was done UFC style, that was tremendous.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah. The only problem is that can't live up to it.
No.
You know, I mean, it's a problem. Trying to think if there's anything else, but anyway, yeah, we got the financial story, we got all the ECW stuff, tons of behind the scenes stuff in WWE. And, you know, just, so two big issues coming up this week, and I was sure tired by the end of that. Between all those shows watching and then doing all that writing.
I hated Tuesday because Tuesday was the ECW debut on Sci-Fi, and I couldn't even start writing a headline story until that stupid show was over.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, I don't have the satellite here, so I had to wait till 10 o'clock to start watching it, and I had to start writing stuff at 11 to get it out, you know, by Wednesday morning. So that was truly
like that. It's going to be like that for the next forever.
Yeah, but at least from now on, I just have to write. Unless something huge happens on the TV, I just have to write a TV report.
Yeah.
This was like I had to tie everything together after watching this TV show because the TV show changed everything.
Yeah, it was a giant story, no question. Rhino just gored Scott D'Amore, so this should be 1, 2, and 3. So that's the end of that.
You're say he kicked out.
No, he did not kick out. Anyway. We're going to start with Ryan in New York. Ryan, you're first up.
Hey, Dave. How's it going?
It's going good.
Just about the ECW show?
Yes.
It seems like Vince McMahon has done something that I can't really believe, that he's turned ECW into sort of like a cartoon character or whatever.
I can believe it.
Well, it's just unbelievable that this is the same promotion that had, you know, Barely Legal and Barbed Wire and all that sort of stuff.
Not the same promotion.
Not the same promotion.
Okay. Yeah, I heard you guys before saying that this is WWE, not ECW.
It's like that would be like if me and Brian started a promotion tomorrow and called it World Class Championship Wrestling, and people were going like, but there's no Von Erichs.
Or Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Yeah.
Just pick 3 initials, and that's what this is. You can call it Ohio Valley for all you want.
Yeah. Do you think, you know, I think Paul Heyman's really smart and all that sort of stuff, but do you think he's finally maybe sold out and he will just be a funny character on WWE TV and just be Vince McMahon sort of like...
Well, if you want to talk about sold out would have been in 2001. He sold out when he took when you take the job, you work for Vince McMahon. It's like whoever you're working for, that's who you work for. I mean, it's you know, I think that there's probably a part of him and that probably wishes he had never sold the trademarks and all that, especially with the amount of money that the DVDs ended up bringing in. But
right.
At the same time, when this all went down in 2001, he had no choice. He was bankrupt. So it's not like, I mean, like, you know, I know there's no way he could have, you know, liked what this turned into himself, but it was like in 2001 when this all went down, he had no choice. He was millions of dollars in debt. So that's what happened.
I know he's on better terms with Vince McMahon than Eric Bischoff is, but it's just he's turned what there's so many people that follow it religiously, I hate to say, but they did, and now it's just another joke. So I'm going to keep on watching the show anyways because it's much better than SmackDown. But
what?
Boy, I could not disagree with anything more than what you just said in this whole world. I mean, because I watched SmackDown on Friday, and I enjoyed that show a lot.
It seemed it seemed like they were just going back to the 1980s with what was the Rey Mysterio, who he faced the Hurricane, and the Hurricane had he was doing his promo on top of the thing before the match started. That's like rewinding back.
Yeah, but I just thought that that match was good. I thought that the tag match with Vic Finley and William Regal are an awesome tag team. They had a good match, and Booker T and Lashley. I mean, you watch Lashley improve every week.
Yeah.
The Finley stuff is good almost every week. I mean, as far as the work in the ring, and it's there's the star power is totally lacking on SmackDown. That's why the rating is down. But I think that the wrestling is pretty darn good on that show. And I mean, on the ECW show, there wasn't even an attempt to do any wrestling. Hopefully, I'll bet you this week, just because of the reaction, they'll probably try to show a good match. But they don't really have they don't have a lot of Rey Mysterios. They got Kurt and I don't know who else is going to be able to do a good match on that roster.
Yeah, with the whole, are they going to bring any more I don't know if Justin Credible did the job in like 30 seconds, I guess they should just bring everybody from the old ECW and just make them job to Kurt Angle. Wouldn't that make, Kurt Angle feel much bigger or better? Or
not Kurt Angle. It'd make Vince McMahon feel much better, though, yes.
Right. And also, before I go, the whole Kevin Nash thing, is that...
That's coming up later.
Is that a joke on everybody that watched the show, or is that an inside joke, or I don't know what's going on?
It's their idea for an angle. We'll see if it works. I mean, it doesn't end tonight. This angle's going to go several more months.
I don't know. I saw that thing that he did about Arn Anderson on Monday Night Show, and I thought that was pretty good. I just think that he's lost his touch,
That was many years ago.
10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Okay.
Dave, I got to ask you, because I missed the first 5 minutes of SmackDown, how did they explain JBL coming back, or did they even bother?
As far as an explanation as to that,
yeah.
No, they didn't even explain that.
He just there doing commentary?
He just was there doing the commentary. And I liked him with this qualification. I think that he really has to guard against being redundant because by the end of the show, it was like he was saying the same thing over and over and over again, just in different ways with different people. But I thought that for a first show, he was tremendous, actually, for a first show.
I can't remember who it was, but somebody, may have been Jim Ross, somebody in some interview said something about how one thing commentators need to understand is sometimes it's okay to just be quiet.
Oh, he doesn't understand that.
Yeah, I think that was the one thing, was he just kept talking. And I remember there was one part he was trying to make a joke about Michael Cole, and I think Cole was going to try and throw in a comeback, and he started about 4 times and just never got to it because JBL just kept going.
Yeah, he doesn't. And also the other thing is, and this is, wrestlers naturally are there to get themselves over because that's how they made their money. And the problem with the commentator is that like most of the job of the commentator is to get the guys in the ring over. And Jesse Ventura was the one. In fact, Jesse he reminded me of Jesse Ventura in the sense of, I thought that it was all about, the show ended up being all about getting JBL over, and Jesse was always about getting Jesse over, although Jesse was a very popular character as an announcer and I guess very effective. So I'm not like saying that the guy wasn't effective because I liked him, but it just seemed that he thought that, watching it, I felt that JBL thought he was the show. Mm-hmm. But again, I thought it for a first show, pretty good. If he gets some good coaching, he could be really good in it. And I just think that the gay stuff, he needs to, it's just so much of it over and over and over again. And it's just like, it stopped being funny after a while.
Yeah.
But, anyway.
He did seem to suggest he was returning soon.
Well, and then who would be the color commentator? The Miz?
I don't know.
The Miz, there's going to be, homicides if that happens.
I've got to say one thing about The Miz. The first 2 weeks The Miz was on, he was on TV for maybe a minute total, just promoting the show and everything, and I said, you know what? For 1 minute, it's fine.
But did you see him with Ashley?
This week, I totally changed my tune. That was the longest 60 seconds of my whole life. That was so bad. Oh. The only thing worse was Ashley and Michelle McCool. That was bad.
Ooh, that backstage segment.
Oh.
Ooh, I know.
Michelle McCool and the girl on ECW, it's a tough, I just don't know who has less charisma.
They have this knack of taking these really good-looking women
and making you not want to see them.
Exactly.
I often wondered about it. It was like a year ago I thought, is this because I'm 30? Because I don't used to remember seeing hot girls on TV and going, I don't need to see this week. And I've now realized it's not me. It's just not me.
No, it's them.
It's them.
Yeah. No, because watch Rochelle.
Okay, that's true. I could watch that All Access every day on a loop, just all day long.
And like she just does this cameos doing the ring card girl stuff on that like she did on Thursday. And it was like, I had no problem with that.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to Warren in Kentucky. Warren, what's going on?
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. Can I get your opinions on something?
Sure.
Real quick. All right, me and my friends were real big ECW fans back in the day, and we, realized that it's not like what we used to think it is. But still, part of us has that nostalgia factor, we want to go see it. Well, we had the dilemma this week because it was a big on-sale day for ECW tickets, and we had the dilemma of whether going to a SmackDown show in Nashville and paying like $65 for ringside seats or paying $25 and going to a house show. And I told my buddies, I was like, I think it would be better to go to a house show because we're not real big SmackDown people, and we would probably get a better show for our enjoyment out of going to a house show. What do you think on that?
They're not going to be messing around as much on a house show, but you're going to have, it's funny. It's almost like going to the Nostalgia Tour in the sense of you're going to get a lot of guys who, how many of those guys are going to be able to give you much? I mean, other than the fact that you're going to see guys, maybe they'll be able to play the music. Maybe they won't. I don't know.
Yeah, that was another question. Would you think they'd be able to play the music and do some stuff that they can't do on regular TV?
We're gonna know in a week. I don't know. Knowing WWE, I would say probably the TV music. I don't think that they want to. I don't think WWE's in there for reliving the past. I think that they're in there forging their own new direction.
Oh. Well. And I just thought it was kind of sad, just something a minute ago. I'm watching the TNA pay-per-view right now, and I just thought it was kind of sad, the fact that the James Gang and the Team 3D had more of a hardcore sort of match than what we saw on Wednesday night.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be. I was expecting that. I don't know if that's sad. I mean, the Team 3D was always good at that type of a match anyway. And, Weapons Battle Royals, almost by their very nature, are almost turned into a clown show because it's just over and over the same thing. Without, and that certainly was what Tuesday was.
Also, I've noticed that the OVW up here, it's kind of, ever since Heyman's left, it's like my interest went with it. I just can't, I live like 5 minutes from the arena, and I haven't been since he's left.
Well, he's still writing the shows. Now, I think that the show on Wednesday is going to be Gagne's first show, Greg Gagne's first show. But I think that he actually... the show this past Wednesday, I don't know if he wrote it. The show the week before...
I think the show, as far as I know, the show last week, they wrote, and then I think Paul faxed the script in at the very last minute, but I don't think they used it.
Okay, because the show the week before I could still tell was a Heyman show.
Yeah.
But it is probably it now, though.
The last one I was able to catch was when Kennedy came back and wrestled Punk for the title.
Yeah, that was a show that I missed that show.
Yeah, that was the last show I got to see. I thought it was really good. I mean, I read the spoilers and stuff, and I don't know if it's the fact that Heyman's not writing it anymore, and I'm such a big Heyman Kool-Aid drinker, so to speak, or
he's still writing it for 2 more weeks after that, man. After the Kennedy show.
I just don't know if it's that or the fact that they've just caught up so many stars that they just haven't really built any new ones up yet.
Well, that's the nature of what OVW is. Especially now that they're doing a brand extension. It's funny. It's funny that Punk's still there. I don't know. It's just kind of. It's not funny, but it's just. I guess if you have a weird.
It's not surprising.
There's. Yeah. It's not. No, it's not the spice, but surprising. But it's just kind of wrestling, I guess is the word.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Go to Ed in San Antonio. Ed, what's going on?
What I want to talk about is the Ultimate Fighter finales. I'm kind of kicking myself because a while back I had booked a trip to Vegas, and I'm going to be there Monday through Friday. I'm going to miss the show, but I was thinking about I couldn't really tell who I think would win. Like on the light heavyweights, I think Bisping has the more tools but I think Josh just has so much heart.
He's going to beat Bisping. I don't even think he's going to last around with Bisping. It's just a huge skill difference. Josh doesn't really. He's just, he does have tremendous heart and emotion, and he's a really likable guy. But he's just athletically, not at that level. The other one, it'll be interesting because you're going to see, Ed Herman away from Ken Shamrock, and he may be a different fighter.
Yeah, for the better.
Kendall has been training with Tito still. In fact, he's training with him, right today still. So, he's really tall, and he could give Ed Herman fits because I'm not that impressed with Ed Herman's stand-up.
Kendall seems like he's very adaptable. Like he can change and a little more adapt. Like Ed's going to do this. He's going to go in with the same game plan. And to me, if things that don't go his way, and he might kind of be caught off guard. But Kendall seems like he's the type of guy who, the fight could come to him anyway, and he'll find a way to adapt and find a way to win.
Yeah. I think he's got some advantages. I think. That's obviously a closer fight. Ed Herman should win, but based on record. But I don't know. You look at the way they match up, and I could really see. I could see Kendall giving him some fits as long as he can keep it, especially if he can keep it standing. If he gets it to the ground, Ed will beat him on the ground if it's a ground match.
And do you know if they're having anything during this week? Are they going to have any promotional events, maybe to meet the fighters or anything?
There's weigh-ins are going to be on Friday. I don't know where. It's not that the weigh-ins the day before pay-per-view are a real big deal. The weigh-ins the day before one of these TV shoots are not that big of a deal, but they are open to the public. Most likely it's at the Hard Rock on Friday, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay, now would this be in the evening or would it be during the day?
Most likely in the afternoon.
In the afternoon. Oh, cool. Maybe I'll be able to make that.
Yeah.
And also, I did want to talk a little bit about Nacho Libre.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's a true story, but I'm not very familiar with the actual person. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about his highlights and his...
Fry Tormenta?
I'm sorry?
Fry Tormenta?
Yeah.
Fry Tormenta. It's, whenever they did... I always thought this was kind of funny. Whenever in the 80s and even in the 70s, I think, certainly through the 80s, whenever there was some TV show and whenever they did a big thing on Lucha Libre, the cultural significance, they always had two guys. They had Super Barrio and they had Fry Tormenta. And the funniest part is that, as someone who was following Lucha Libre pretty close during that whole period. By the way, Jay Lethal just pinned Alex Shelley with a Dragon Suplex. So Jay Lee, I guess it's elimination. I guess it just keeps going because they're still wrestling. So I guess it's until everyone's gone. Okay, well, anyway. What I was going to say is that when I would watch Lucha Libre, those guys were not any big deal whatsoever. So Fry Tormenta was not like this superstar in professional wrestling or anything like that, but he had the gimmick. He did have an orphanage, and, he did wrestle at night, and it was, so he, and he did wrestle, but it wasn't,
What was the time period, and who would be some of the biggest names that he wrestled against?
He was like a prelim guy. I don't know. He might have been in the ring with a lot of the guys, but it was not like, it was that period with, Santo and Cien Caras and El Satanico and Lismark and, that late, that 80s, late 70s, but mostly 80s period. But it wasn't like he was a big star. He may not have wrestled any of those guys.
Did you see the movie, Ed?
No, I haven't. I haven't been able to see it.
Yeah. Okay. Petey Williams did the Canadian Destroyer on Jay Lethal, so he's out. Low Key just did a double foot stomp off the top ropes on Petey Williams, and that's a count of 3, so he's out. So we got Senshi, or Low Key, and Sanjay Dutt as the last two. Senshi ended up winning that match. I guess the deal is that it was the rankings. It determines the rankings of the X division based on the order of elimination. So the number one contender is Senshi. Number 2 is...
I remember this from about 4 years ago.
Yeah, they did one like that.
And nothing ever became of it.
In Nashville. But I presume that Low Key and Samoa Joe are going to be wrestling for the title real soon, maybe even tomorrow, which, believe me, that could be worse.
Yeah.
Could be worse than seeing a match. Because I know that that's the first... On the first hour of TV this Thursday show, Joe's defending, and I'm presuming it's against Low Key. So, hopefully...
Odd that they would give that away for free.
Maybe they're not. Maybe they'll go with Sanjay.
Yeah.
as the number 2 contender, and they'll go with the number 1 contender on a pay-per-view. That's possible, too. Kevin Nash is about to go in the ring with Chris Sabin. So,
did you hear about the power bomb into the crowd last night, the super bomb?
I heard about it.
What? Why?
I don't know, but I think that we have several callers that are hanging on who were at the Ring of Honor show, so I'm sure that someone will tell us about it very soon.
Okay.
So we're going to go to Michelle in New York. Are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Hi there.
Hi, what's going on, Dave?
Not too much. What's going on?
Recently there has been a brouhaha on the internet about Ring of Honor paying off reporters to give positive reviews to their DVDs. Is this true?
I've sure never heard of anything like that. I don't see why they would have to.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But have you ever been offered any cash money under the table from any wrestlers to put them over?
That was really intelligent.
Yeah.
Let's go to Richard in Ohio. Richard. Are you there?
Richard?
Yeah, I got about 3 questions for you guys this week.
Okay.
Hey, the DX deal, is that still going to be Shawn Michaels and Triple H, or are there going to be other guys involved with it, too?
As far as I know, just those 2.
Just those 2, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And another thing, was Jack Black supposed to be on SmackDown with the old Nacho Libre thing?
I never heard of him making an appearance on SmackDown. I know they threw it on the website and they sponsored the show, so I thought that was a good possibility they would do it, but I guess they felt that his promotional efforts would be better served doing whatever he's doing. You know, that last week before a movie opened, they run those guys ragged, so I guess they didn't.
The way they were kind of promoting it, it makes you think that he might show up on SmackDown.
Yeah, they sponsored the show, so I actually thought that he was going to, but no one ever told me that he was, though.
Oh, okay. And the third question is, a lot of the wrestlers seem to be losing their contracts and getting fired, and I heard on the net that it's supposed to be because they're trying to pay Brock Lesnar high dollars.
Well, obviously that's not true in any way whatsoever.
Actually, who's really been released recently? I don't think anyone's been released for financial reasons.
No
it's
one's
been their own
released
stupidity.
for financial reasons since probably July of last year.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even financial reasons because the company's been making money. So, no one's been released.
Everyone who's been released has been for something stupid that they have done.
Yeah. No one has been released for financial reasons probably since, many years, actually.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
All right, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, bye. Okay, we're going to go to Rob in Indiana. Rob, what's going on?
Questions, some of which about Ring of Honor and TNA.
Mm-hmm.
First question, Bryan Danielson seems to be the biggest star on the independent scene who doesn't work with TNA or WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Does TNA have any interest at all in him, or does Bryan just refuse to work for the big guys?
Well, Bryan Danielson would be a real tough fit for WWE. I mean, just if you watch the stock, they'd never give him the time to do those kind of matches that he likes to do, and he doesn't have the kind of look. He doesn't have the size that they want. He's a super talented guy. But whenever I watch him, and I love his matches. I mean,
yeah.
But the only thing I always come to my mind is he could never do this in WWE. The fans would never put up with it. It's a different kind of thing, and this is what he likes. So, more power to him to do what he likes.
And you also have to look at it from the perspective of if Vince McMahon has never watched a long Bryan Danielson Ring of Honor match. I'm almost positive he would have him do 2 minutes on Velocity. It would be over, and he would go, "What's so special about this guy?" And that would be the end.
Yeah,
Velocity.
Well, formerly on Velocity, but TNA has had interest in Bryan Danielson for a long, long time. Not super interest. I mean, it's not like they've made him a huge offer, but I mean, he could go there if he wanted to, and he chooses not to. So it's in a sense, it's his doing. He could go to WWE, I'm sure, if he really wanted to. He just wouldn't be used well. Mm-hmm. So I don't know what the purpose would be.
And then what about, especially on the pay-per-view tonight, going out first, Alex Shelley? He's in this big program with Kevin Nash. Why does he continue to lose almost every match he's in?
Well, five people had to lose that match, so you know what I mean? It was just, it was just, the odds of him winning were 6-1, so, and obviously Senji's the one that they're pushing this week, so, I don't consider that necessarily, and I think that their mentality is he can lose because now he's, in the corner of, he's in the corner of Kevin Nash against what's his name, Sabin, and he's interfering. So they probably figured that since he's going to get to interfere later in the show, he can certainly lose earlier in the show. So I think
he'll be a big guy eventually.
Okay,
it's not his time right now.
And we are joined by Bobby Roode, who earlier tonight was wrestling with Rhino, Bobby Roode and Scott D'Amore, and on the TNA pay-per-view, and the Chris Sabin, Kevin Nash match is in the ring, and I don't know how good the match is, but Chris Sabin's running around like crazy, and Kevin Nash is on the ground and just got a near fall on him. So anyway,
I believe there are chants of Sabin sucks.
Are there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad because he's running around like crazy here.
Yeah.
But anyway, we are joined by Bobby Roode. Bobby, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I can barely hear you.
I'm doing just fine. Is that better?
Okay, yeah. I hear you a lot better. Okay. Bobby, we've never spoken to you here on the show before, and I want to go back and kind of find out a little bit about your background as far as starting in pro wrestling. How did you basically break in, and who were you a fan of growing up?
I broke in originally I started getting broken in by Sean Morley Valvinus probably back in '96, and just basically learned the basics from Sean, and we were good friends as it was. So when he went off to bigger and better things, I was out of the ring for probably a year and a half, and Shane Sewell, who was over in Puerto Rico, he's Glamour Boy Shane over in Puerto Rico, who was Sean's partner at the time, kind of took me under his wing and started training me a little more, and ended up having my first match about 4 months later. So started in about '98. Guys I watched growing up, I was a big fan of. Once I broke into the business, I was, as I was learning, I was a big fan of Kurt Hennig, Ric Flair, Bret Hart, guys like that.
Now, I'm under the impression, and you could probably tell the whole story, that there was a period where WWE was interested in you for developmental, and being Canadian, it may have gotten in the way. Is something?
I was never. I mean, I was told that by a lot of different people. People who, I don't know if that was the truth or not. I know I went in and I did a developmental camp back in 2002 in Cincinnati, and basically thought that it was that I was hired, and it turned out that I wasn't. And I continued to go in and to do a number of dark matches for the following 2 years, and they always told me that that they really didn't have anything for me creatively, and that's when TNA called me in May of 2004. And at the time, I was talking with Tom Pritchard, who was in the office of the WWE at the time, and Tom and I are pretty good friends. So I told Tom that TNA called me, and he basically didn't really want me to go do it because he felt that I was on the borderline of getting hired there again. And but I went and did it, and I don't regret it at all. It's probably the best move I made in my career, and I'm here right now, and I'm enjoying myself.
I got to ask you this one question. Do you know the history of the robe?
The history of the robe? No, why don't you fill me in on that?
The robe that you wear?
Yes. Are you okay? Tell me what you mean.
Was that originally Terry Taylor's robe?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes,
he
has passed it on to me, and the robe idea was thrown around for a while actually, and basically being a part of Team Canada, the whole scheme of the team thing, the robe really didn't fit for a long time. But now that we're kind of still a team, but allowing to do our own thing. They brought up the robe idea to me again, and I always pushed for it. So Terry allowed me to use his robe, and I'm going to have more robes made. I'm getting another one made as we speak. So the robe is here to stay.
Do you enjoy? I mean, you had a good run as a tag team for it's been, I guess, it's almost been like a couple of years now.
Yeah.
With mainly with Eric Young, but also with Petey Williams and what's your thoughts as far as the difference between doing the tag team and now it appears you're going to be doing a lot more singles?
I love tag team wrestling, and I believe that TNA has the best tag team wrestling in our business right now. So it was great. I had an opportunity to be two-time NWA tag team champions with Eric Young, and I had an opportunity to wrestle with great tag teams, AMW and 3D, James Gang. The list goes on, and the Naturals. we had some really good matches, and I really enjoy tag team wrestling. But just like everybody else that gets in this business, when they first start out, they want to be that single star, they want to be a superstar, and I'm grateful that I'm getting an opportunity now to kind of go out on my own and show what I can do.
Now, when you in the Team Canada gimmick, when you wrestle on independent shows in Canada, do they react to you more positively, or are you just pretty much play like a heel character in Canada because that's your TV role?
The reaction I get in Canada is very, very good, but my wrestling style really doesn't change very much. It doesn't. It really. I mean, it really doesn't change a whole lot. But just because I am Team Canada, part of Team Canada, and I represent my country every time I'm on TV, I get a pretty good reaction. As does Eric Young, as does A1 and PD. And Scott D'Amore, believe it or not, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, on the single side, I mean, who are the different people that you're kind of like most looking forward to doing matches with right now?
Singles? Well, I mean, I'd love to work. Being a singles guy, I would, eventually would love to work with the NWA heavyweight champion. Obviously, I mean, that's Christian right now. I'd love to work with Christian. I had a little taste of him when he first came to TNA. I thought we had a really good match. I'd love to do an angle with him. Abyss would be fun. I mean, any of the heavyweight guys. Me and Truth have worked each other a lot, and we have really good chemistry, I think, together. Any of those guys. Sting would be an honor. Anybody in the heavyweight division, I'm itching at it right now because I'm getting my first taste, with Rhino right now, and it's been fun working with Rhino too. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
How many dates per month do you get as far as? Obviously, you've got the TV for TNA and the pay-per-views and an occasional house show. How many other dates do you work?
It's touch and go. There are busier times and there are slower times. So, I mean, I like to think that I'm comfortably busy. Probably I want to say I have at least a weekend off a month. So, and now in the summer there's for instance, this week I get home Tuesday morning and I fly out Thursday morning and I do a triple shot Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week. So, this month is a little busier for me.
Have you ever worked, as far as like, the different, a lot of the Canadian guys have worked those, I don't know, death tours or whatever like that?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about like those type of experiences.
Canadian death tours?
Yeah, if there's a Canadian death tour, or if you ever worked Atlantic Coast, or like.
I was. I'm going to toot my own horn here for a minute. I was like, I'm a living legend in the Atlantic Coast. I spent 3 years in that's where I was crafted my, I was 3 years out there. I worked every single night for 6 months straight for 3 years in a row. And that's where I really learned how to wrestle and learned how to, learn my craft was out there. I spent 4 months out there. I worked 4 months straight, 6 or 7 days a week. In 2000, in the year after that, in 2001, I was out there for 7 months. We worked every single day for 7 months.
So that's working like on the East Coast of Canada?
East Coast of Canada, yeah.
Was that Emile Dupree?
New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island.
How are the fans different? Because that's a part of the North America that we never. I mean, we know it exists. I mean, we get results, but we really no one sees tapes from there. How are the fans different from there? How do they react as compared to the rest of Canada or the United States?
Each town is different, to be honest with you. There are a lot of old school wrestling fans and a lot of smaller, more hickish towns. I say hickish in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and PEI, but and I mean the bigger towns in Halifax and stuff like that, you get more Americanized, more smarter fans. So you get a mixture of everybody.
When did you decide on doing the Bobby Roode character, I guess, as just the one you were going to use?
How do you mean? The one that I'm using right now in Team Canada?
Sure. I mean, did you have a bunch of other gimmicks? I see Totally Awesome, but I don't know if that was the only one early on, or what exactly happened there.
He died a long time ago, Totally Awesome. That was the first name I used in 1998 for my first 6 or 7 matches.
And then after that, you just went with Bobby Roode, and it was like that forever?
Pretty much, yeah. Okay. When I started in 2000 doing tours in Atlantic Canada, I was actually called the Natural Bobby Roode. I had blonde hair, so I did that gimmick out there. And then when I came to TNA, I was part of the X Cup, and I was one of the bigger guys in the X division at the time. So they kind of handed me the handle of the Enforcer. So, and it's kind of just carried on from there.
Kevin Nash beat Chris Sabin in that match, and AMW is wrestling against Daniels, Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles, which, from what I can gather, looks like a really good match. Bobby Roode wrestled earlier in the show. It was Bobby Roode and Scott D'Amore losing to Rhino. And Bobby, we were talking a little bit earlier as far as your experiences working on the east coast of Canada before coming to TNA. When you came to TNA, of course, that was the Nashville days.
Right.
Was there anything when you came in where it was just like, wow, this is different, or had you worked in enough different places where it was just like, okay, this is just another place and got to tweak this and that? Or, I mean, what was your first reaction of wrestling and getting a chance to do more than, say, like in the WWE, a couple of minutes?
Yeah, no, when I first got there, I was excited because it was a completely, different, as it is right now, a completely different atmosphere than a WWE locker room. And, working in Nashville, it was a whole different animal, it seemed, with the different kind of fans, and it was a smaller arena, and like you said, you get a little bit more time in the ring to do some things rather than the quick 4 or 5 minute matches that we would have, or I would get while doing WWE TV. So I was excited about it. Like I said earlier, coming to TNA was the best move I've made in my career thus far.
When did you make the decision that you were going to become a wrestler?
What's that? I'm sorry.
When did you make the decision to become a wrestler?
I was always a wrestling fan growing up as a kid. I always watched WWF TV and everything like that. So, but I was a hockey player first, and I grew up from the time I could walk. I was on skates, and I played competitive, hockey and rep hockey from the time I was 4 years old till I turned 20. I played Tier 2 Junior A in my hometown of Peterborough, and my goal was to become a professional hockey player. And around the age of 16, 17, I started working out and lifting weights and got into bodybuilding and stuff like that. So my body changed, and I became a little heavier, and so my skating ability and my flexibility and stuff, I was losing that at my age. So, and I knew past a certain point, when you turn 18, 19, you probably know that the NHL isn't within your grasp. And I always wanted to get into wrestling, and that's when Sean and I, Val, we kind of became friends and stuff like that. And I just took a shot, and I knew he was a wrestler, and like I said, I went out to his house and we started rolling around, bumping, and then the rest is history.
Did you ever wrestle in Puerto Rico, or did you ever talk about wrestling in Puerto Rico?
Yes,
just because of
I've been in Puerto Rico 3 different times actually. I worked for, when I first broke in '98. I went over for a short time for Carlos Colon, WWC, and just recently when with TNA, I went over with when it was 2004. I guess it was in October of 2004. I went over with Jeff Jarrett and Conan. And I did a weekend shot over there with IWA, and I just recently went over there last April for IWA again. So I'm probably looking forward to going back again. Dutch Mantel, who is part of TNA here, is trying to get me back over with WWC, Carlos Colon's company, and I'm hoping to get back over there. I really love working on that island, and plus my friend, the guy who trained me, Shane Sewell, is still over there too, so it's good to see him.
Now, what happened because he's lived there for years and years?
Yes.
Has he talked about, coming to North America or anything like that? Or is
he had in the past, but now he's got a family there, and he's set over there. And I think he enjoys the island. I don't ever see him leaving that island, really.
Because I'm just, it's a Canadian who's been living in Puerto Rico for I don't know. It seems like 5-6 years. It seems.
Yeah, he's happy over there. He is like Hulk Hogan on that island, and he's married. He's got a son, and he's got a beautiful home, and he's very settled, and he's basically on his way out of the business, I think. So he's just enjoying himself right now.
Mm-hmm. What's as far as your immediate goals and things like that? I mean, have you thought about as far as going to Japan or any other areas that within what your schedule would allow? And are you allowed to go to Japan right now with TNA, or do they have to book you there?
I really don't know. I mean, a lot of my third-party bookings, they need to go through the office, basically TNA. But my main objective and my main goal is to be here for TNA and do my thing here. And if the opportunity came up for me to go to Japan, I would love to go there. I've never been, and I've always wanted to be there and work over there. So if TNA's schedule would allow it and they would allow me to go over there, I would be there in a heartbeat.
What's the difference to you in Orlando versus Nashville?
Right now, to be honest, the Orlando crowd tonight is a little different, but on TV nights, I feel like a lot of the fans are tourists that come through. There's not a lot of fans that watch us each and every week like we have in the arena tonight. But I find that, to be honest, that the Orlando fans are being a little bit spoiled and they're expecting a little bit too much. And I think everybody's getting that general feeling, and I think that it's time almost, I think, to start touring around and going to different areas for our shows. The difference, I mean, it's been a while since I've been in Nashville, to be honest with you, so I can't really relate to the differences.
Yeah, because I think it's just a natural thing as far as running in the same place so many shows a month.
That's right. Yeah.
And especially when it's the same guys, they're naturally they know your stuff, and I mean I noticed it in the last couple of months watching the TV and everything. It's like I think they're good fans, but they've seen so much.
Yeah, especially when we and it's not anybody's fault. It's just the way we have to do it. But I mean, the last time we were here, we did 3 TV tapings in a row. So that was a lot, not only for the talent but for the fans as well. So sometimes you just don't get the reactions that we're out there busting our ass and doing things for the show, and sometimes you just don't get the reaction that you wish you got. And
how was the show in Michigan? A month or two?
Oh, the TNA House show?
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. And everybody thought because it was helped, it was being run a little bit, it was helped promoted by the Insane Clown Posse. So we actually thought that it would be a lot of their fans, the Juggalos, I guess they call it. We figured that a lot of the people there would be their fans, but it was exactly the opposite. It was all TNA fans. There was TNA chants, and I mean, there was literally, I'm saying, the 3,500 people screaming loud, boisterous from start to finish. It was a great crowd to work in front of.
There's a woman in the ring. There's a woman in the ring who just chokeslammed Gail Kim.
Oh, okay.
Fantastic.
What?
Is that right?
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Is it a woman?
I think it's a woman. No, I'm sure. Who is that?
I don't know.
Oh. So someone just carried Gail Kim to the back. I don't recognize that woman. Oh, well, I guess we're going to know in a couple hours.
It's not China, is it?
Kind of looked like her.
It kind of looked like her, yeah. I don't think it was her, though.
I don't think it's her either, but it kind of looked like her.
Yeah.
Kind of looked like Johnny Devine.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it was.
That's interesting. I think we got, hold on, 1, 2, and, nope, that was just a near fall by Daniels on Chris Harris. As far as when you went, did that give you, as far as coming out of that the show in Michigan, did that give you kind of like a renewed enthusiasm or something as far as like, wow, we can go on the road and there's people here waiting, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that was a general consensus on my part as well as the entire locker room, and I think the TNA office as well. And we're doing some house shows now, and I heard that we're going to start doing more house shows too, so that's positive. And the reaction that we've gotten over the last couple pay-per-views recently in Philadelphia, New Jersey, that just goes to show that people are watching our product and are enjoying it. So I think it's time everybody agrees from the locker room right through to the office that I think it's time to start going different places. Whether not necessarily for our TV shows, because I think that Orlando's a good spot for it personally, but the non-televised shows and stuff like that, I think it's time to press on with that.
I think pay-per-views too.
How do you balance?
Oh, pay-per-views definitely. I think it's. I agree. Everybody agrees. I think it's time that we start shifting the pay-per-views to different cities.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Brian.
How do you balance working on the road as opposed to working on TV? Because when you're on the road, if you say you've got 3 shows coming up on the weekend, you can't go all out all 3 nights, or do you try and go all out all 3 nights? How do you balance not ripping the people off with not killing yourself?
Well, I mean, you just go out every night and you work to how the people are reacting and what you think the people want. That's you just go out and I always go out and I work hard. And you just try not to kill yourself at any point, really. You know what I mean? I'm in this business for the long run, and like you said, if I have 3 shows in a row, then there are nights that you don't want to go out and do kill yourself, but the adrenaline and everything gets in you, and you just go out and you do it anyway. So I think that's a consensus with our whole locker room. To be honest with you, is that we just
what's your feeling like let's say this weekend.
Yeah.
If you had a Saturday, I don't know if you worked last night, but if you have a Saturday night show before the Sunday and then the Monday where you may have to work a couple of times, depending on the TV schedule, and like the Sunday show, generally you're going to be in a long match and you have to be in a good match. I mean, what's your feeling on Saturday as far as how much you want to do, or do you really not even think about it when you're in the ring and just
honestly? Yeah, I mean, I don't really. To be honest, I really don't think about it. I didn't work Saturday, but I had a show Wednesday night. And, I didn't really think, I got to be careful because I have a match on Sunday. I just go out. It's my job. I go out and I do it, and I have fun doing it. So that's just the mentality behind it.
Did you ever have the situation where when you worked, when you really thought about being safe, that's sort of when you got hurt?
Knock on wood, I've never really seriously been hurt. So I can't really say yes or no. So I just go out with the same mentality every night.
What, as far as when you were in WWE, was there anybody in particular that you wished you could have gotten a chance to wrestle with that maybe you did or maybe you didn't?
Well, I mean, I was just there as an enhancement talent basically when I was there, so I was never under contract. So, I mean, there's a ton of guys there that I would love to work with. I was fortunate enough to work with some good guy. I had a great match with Billy Kidman on TV. I worked with I worked with a lot of guys. Saturn. I worked with Prince Albert, A-Train a couple times. Chuck Palumbo. I know I'm forgetting a bunch of other people. Al Snow. But, I mean, being where I am right now, I'd love to have an opportunity to, wrestle a lot of those guys there. A lot of the top guys would be, be fun. Triple H and Ric Flair would be a dream come true, But, I mean, that's here nor there because I'm not there and I'm happy where I'm at. But if you're asking me who I would like to work with there's a handful of guys.
Really quick, it looks like something big is about to happen. I don't know. There have been a lot of... Chris Daniels just got the pin on, I believe it's James Storm with a moonsault, so the championship just changed hands. And good luck to you, and we'll be talking to you soon.
All right, I appreciate it.
Okay, you're very welcome. There is a video with Ken Shamrock and Sting and Jeff Jarrett on the screen right now. I think this is going to be the introduction of Jim Cornette.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So anyway, this should be, I'm sure it'll be a good promo. Let's go to Eric in New Jersey. What's going on, Eric? Eric.
Just wanted to talk to you real quick about the Ring of Honor show.
Oh, we actually wanted to know about. So tell us about the power bomb.
Okay, picture Mike Awesome power bombing Masato Tanaka off the top rope, except B.J. Whitmer power bombing Jimmy Jacobs into the crowd instead of the ring.
Into the crowd with no table.
No.
Onto people.
I believe they were power bombed onto students or just some sort of plants. I didn't really get a good view of it. But I thought it was really funny how, I called in because I was listening to shows I usually do, and you brought up the fake ECW. And I'd been to the TNA show and ROH last night and seen a lot of wrestling in the past week and a half. And I was really struck last night by the really good Ring of Honor show in that when Heyman was on TV, especially with promoting Angle about how this is going to be the new ECW and this is a new style, it seemed as if, well, that's what Ring of Honor kind of what is. And it just really struck me as funny how last night Ring of Honor pretty much proved that it's a lot more extreme than this ECW claims it is. And I have two questions for you. The first one is, how do you see this universal negative reaction to the first ECW show? The second one hasn't happened yet. But how do you see this possibly affecting Ring of Honor? And the second one is, do you see this new ECW as just the next step in this huge nostalgia trip that WWE's been on, because between Monday and Tuesday, I feel like I'm in '97 between DX.
I don't think that ECW is meant. I don't think that ECW is meant as nostalgia as much as this is Vince's vision of it, which is, I think Vince has a pretty shallow vision of what it was, and that's what Vince is trying to deliver. Mm-hmm. I watched that Battle Royal, and I felt like, oh man, we're like in 1996, and this was like Extreme before, it's always, things always change, and what I saw there was the innovative weapons, all that weapon stuff was very new in, 1996 or 97. Mm-hmm. And now it's old because everybody does it, and it's, been done to death. And it felt like it was, that's how I felt watching that Battle Royal. Though it was like, I've even discussed that with some people in the company, was with this whole idea of Vince's idea of ECW being mindless weapon shots, and it was kind of like, that's what they did for a while in TNA, and it was like dated then, and that was 4 years ago in Nashville.
Right.
But yeah, the Ring of Honor, I'm only up to the end of March when it comes to watching the DVDs, but I just think those guys give you a great show, and I love how hard the young guys work, and the main event matches are great matches, and they bring in some awfully good guys, like Kenta last night.
I love how that goon before asked about Ring of Honor paying off people, because I'm sure they had to pay off a lot of people to give good reviews to Joe Kobashi and the Dragon.
Oh yeah. I mean, especially Brian.
Yeah. Let me tell you.
Brian, we haven't talked about this, but Brian and I think we've emailed about this, but that, because the last time we did the show, and I told Brian, about that 6-man tag, but that match was like frickin', I mean, I still can't get over that match.
It was a match where, you said so much about it, and I read other people saying so much about it, and when I watched it, I've seen this happen to me many times. About 10 minutes in, I just sit there going, what are these people talking about? This is good, but this is far from the best match I've seen all year. And then by the time it's over, I was just like, nothing this whole year has come even close to that match. And just one of the best matches I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, it was it was a March 31st 6-man tag from the Dragon Gate promotion, and I didn't, but I mean, they bring in guys who are good, and they got great fans in the sense of you can take those guys who they don't really know. I mean, they kind of know the names, but they really don't know the guys. And if they put on a match like that, the people will react to it like it is a match of the year. I mean, Kobashi Joe, of course, they decided it was a match of the year before it started, and then it lived up to it. But that match, those guys worked it, and those guys, the crowd reacted to it. Because, I mean, just the way that crowd, when they were doing, like, Please Don't End, because it was funny when they did that, the moment that chant started, where they go, Please Don't End, I'm, like, thinking, God, I wish this match doesn't end. Because it was so good. But anything else, Eric?
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I understand that this, as I like to call it, the fake ECW is Vince McMahon's own vision of ECW, and the reason I equate it to this nostalgia trip, it just seems to be honest, because you mentioned before in the financial, when you were talking about their financial statements about international touring, and I remember back in, let's say, 98, when Austin and DX and Rock and the domestic product was really hot, they never acknowledged the past pretty much, very rare. They never toured internationally. I remember when they did India in 2002, the last time they did India was when Bret Hart was champion in 96, and the business was down.
And they do it, it's going to be when Nick Hogan is champion.
Yeah.
Nobody wants because nobody that's active now ever wants to go there again.
But I just equated ECW to that because I remember when the Flair DVD came out and the ECW DVD came out and all these DVDs that they're putting out that seem to rely on the past, such as Dusty Rhodes and the Manager's DVD, that's been, I guess, doing pretty well for them. Do you not see ECW as just like the ultimate step in that, in bringing back a whole promotion?
I'm not really sure what the whole mentality was. I think that... because it all happened out of nowhere. They did these negotiations out of nowhere. They still don't even have TV in Canada. I mean, which shows how quick, and the house show schedule is being rearranged, it seems like, on a daily basis. So they went in there, without being ready, that's for sure. I think that it was, one person in that company says that they just thought that Vince thought that everyone had gotten complacent and happy, and he wanted to make them, go back to, having to be on edge because they can't get so much, the work done. Because, this increases the workload of many people because there's going to be, 1/3 more arena shows, and there's going to be, more wrestlers hired, and all the problems that exist with, more people out there on the road.
I hope that doesn't make Kurt Angle one step closer to a wheelchair.
As Brian's pointed out, he's been wrestling a lot safer style so far, but again, like, once he starts having to wrestle regular matches against some of these people, if he's working with, Sabu or something like that, boy, that's going to be tough to have a safe match.
I believe you said before that we're on borrowed time with Angle as it is anyway.
Yeah, people don't want to accept that, and
we have been since 1996, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but when you watch that match, like the match he had with Mysterio a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, you really don't think, how is this guy on borrowed time? He's incredible, but
I thought the same thing when he wrestled Orton on Sunday. He just looked incredible.
He looked really smooth and everything. That was a safe match, though. That was the safest match on that show, I think, other than the Taz match, which,
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but one last quick thing. Brian mentioned Bryan Danielson being jobbed on Velocity in 2 minutes if you were on it. Bryan Danielson did fight Cena a couple of years ago, I believe, in 2003, when Cena's white rapper gimmick hadn't yet taken off. And I thought it was funny looking back in that, knowing that both guys ended up a couple of years later champions of their respective promotions.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you for taking my call.
Okay, thanks very much, Eric. We're going to go to, is it Carlos in Chicago?
How you doing, guys?
We're doing really good. What's going on?
I got 4 questions now that you guys were talking about that DVD collection. What is that?
Which one?
The one the last caller just mentioned. I just forget the name of it now that I got more questions.
Is it the Greatest Managers DVD or ECW DVDs or the Ring of Honor DVD?
Yeah, that's it, the Ring of Honor.
Okay, March 31st from Chicago, the Ring of Honor DVD has, in my opinion, the match of the year, which is a 6-man tag team from Dragon Gate. It's a great show anyway. Bryan Danielson and Roderick Strong main events. I tell you what, man, that show, they have a lot of guts, because I would not have the guts that Gabe Sapolsky and Bryan Danielson have. If I were to get in the ring at 11:50 p.m. and there's a show the next night and the night after in Chicago, and go in there and then go out there and do a 56-minute match, that takes guts. And it was a good match. In fact, it was a great match, but
that would sound tiring no matter who you are, I would think.
At that time, to do that at that late a time, and the people nobody left early. And by the end...
That is saying something right there.
What?
That's saying something.
Well, they worked a style that was great for Ring of Honor. I'm watching this, and I had this reaction of, this match would just so die in WWE, at least the early part of it. They could never sit through this early part. And yet at the same time, I'm going but it's really good. And then by the end, it was no one left. And it was, I gave those guys all the credit in the world to be able to pull that off.
Okay, I know you're going to break, so how did ECW do? Do you think it's going to last? And
it's too early to say as far as last. I think it should make money because it's got a good backbone behind it, but if the first week is any indication, it's going to be terrible. And I think that long term, I just don't believe it will always be terrible, so I think that they'll learn something from it. But as far as being, what people want it to be, I don't think it will ever be even close.
And what's with this Vince McMahon having too much of an ego as far as being manager?
Vince McMahon's got a big ego, because he's been very successful at his core business. Incredibly successful, and he's, he does. He's got a big ego, and he wants everything his way, and that's just how it's going to be with, when you work there, that's what it is. It's Vince's game.
He's getting too much TV time, in my opinion.
He thinks he's a great character, and he is a great character. So, the Samoa Joe Scott Steiner match is just about to get into the ring. And also tomorrow night on Raw, Ric Flair and Edge are going to do a singles match, plus the reuniting of DX, they reunited last Monday, and this will be, I guess, their first promo together. Brian, have a really good week.
You too.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.